I'm Robert B. Dugan, and I'm a candidate for Town of Falmouth Board of Selectmen. I was born and raised in Falmouth, so I grew up here and I know the town's history. And I also graduated from the Falmouth school systems. Upon graduation from college, I was able to return here and join my mother in our family business. We have a family-owned and operated real estate business that's been serving this community for over 55 years. I was then elected to town meeting, and I've been a 20-plus year consecutively elected town meeting member for Precinct 2, and I'm currently the Precinct 2 Deputy Captain. With my professional background, I applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals through the Select Board, and I was appointed by the Select Board to the Zoning Board of Appeals and was a long-serving member as both officer and clerk, and very proud of my service there, the procedural changes I was able to make, how the meetings were run, and also that we treated every applicant equally. I then put my nomination in the Finance Committee, and I was elected through town meeting to the Finance Committee, and I'm a member of the Finance Committee today. So my knowledge base for the Select Board position comes from 3 areas, both my personal, professional, and town service life. Personally, growing up here, you know the history, and you know the people and the residents of the town. Professionally, you deal with the business community. You know what the town's service needs are, you know the residents, and you know the visitors and monies that are needed for our economy today, and also the importance of public activities. From my professional town service experience, I've learned budgeting, permitting, bylaws. I was on the accessory bylaw working group, and we allowed apartments for seniors to age in place so they would have an additional income. So all that information together makes me ideally suited for a position on the Select Board. On May 16th, when you go to the ballot, or if you decide to vote early or do a mail-in ballot, and you see my name, Robert B. Dugan, for the Select Board, please consider me as your representative on that board, and I continue to look forward to serving this community. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bob Mascali, and I'm running for the Select Board. First off, I would like to thank FCTV for giving me and all the candidates the opportunity to make this statement. I will give you my reasons for running for the Select Board and my vision, but first a little bit about me. During my 47 years as an attorney, I have practiced in the private, government, and nonprofit sectors. My clients have ranged from large developers of supermarkets and golf courses to individuals who could not afford to pay for an attorney. And in fact, in 2014, I was named Pro Bono Lawyer of the Year, which, as my kids could not believe, meant I work for nothing. My wife, Gina, is a counselor at Gosnold, and she has dedicated her life to helping those who are affected by substance use disorder, because like so many families, we have been directly affected by this disease and know how challenging it can be for any family. I have served on the Falmouth Commission on Disabilities, have been a member and chair of the Cable TV Advisory Committee, am currently an elected member of the Falmouth Housing Authority, and I was appointed by the Select Board and serve as Falmouth's representative on the Cape Cod Commission. In addition, I currently serve on a number of boards of directors of local nonprofits, so I come by public service naturally and try to live the worldwide motto of Rotary, service above self. My position on the Commission has given me a unique view and firsthand experience in many areas of concern that also align with the problems now faced by the town of Falmouth, the need for many different types of housing, dealing with the challenges posed by climate change and the resulting threats to our coastline, the need for renewable sources of electricity, the proper use of wastewater, and finally, the importance of affordable daycare and pre-K services for working families. Of no less concern is the need to protect our vulnerable residents, to continually stress the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion in all areas of daily life, and to preserve our unique open spaces and natural environment. Falmouth is at a critical stage, and the Select Board must set up the town manager for success while establishing specific goals for his performance, and at the same time engaging in a process that constantly evaluates and measures that performance while fulfilling the board's mission to set the necessary policies for the proper administration of the town for the benefit of its employees and its residents. A recent letter to the editor of the Enterprise asked the question, now what? My answer is we need to overcome the recent rhetoric and divisions within the community so that we can get back on track and be the town where people of all types can prosper and feel comfortable. As was asked at the town meeting, that while we all agree and disagree, we can still be a community. The road ahead will not be easy, but we are lucky that Falmouth has hundreds of dedicated and thoughtful volunteers and a competent and committed workforce, and we should never miss an opportunity to thank them. I believe my record of public service and my experience as an attorney give me the ability to answer that now what question in a reasoned, pragmatic, and collegial way, and make me an ideal candidate for the Select Board. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you agree that I can be a fresh voice for Falmouth's future and that you will support me and my vision when you vote on May 16th.
Hello, my name is Nancy Taylor, and I am the current chair of the Falmouth Select Board. I'm running for re-election. During my first term on the board, we underscored the housing crisis in Falmouth and committed an unprecedented $4 million to our Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund to address the housing crisis here in Falmouth, including over $1 million to make the senior housing project on Scranton Ave and Main Street a reality. The Select Board, while I was chair, worked to support our police and fire departments. I advocated for adding social workers to our police departments to help them with the homelessness and addiction cases they face every day. And I championed an override to provide our fire department with the firefighters they need to guarantee that every fire station is staffed 24 hours every day. I was also a strong advocate for the new positions of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Sustainability Coordinator, and Assistant Director for our Public Works Department. The board has supported the work of the Water Quality Management Committee to restore our estuaries with a combination of sewering and alternatives without raising our taxes. Additionally, I have supported our schools. I recognize that teachers are responsible for our most precious resource, our children. I understand the ever-growing and changing educational, social, and emotional needs of our students and the critical role our teachers play in meeting those needs. The board has made strides in the way we conduct business. Those of you who watch FCTV may have noticed that our Select Board meetings now end at a more reasonable hour. We have redesigned our strategic planning process and have added workshops into our schedule so the board can look more closely at the critical issues facing Falmouth. With a new town manager coming aboard, the current assistant town manager and finance director staying on board, and a new police chief coming soon, it is important to have an experienced Select Board to work with this new administrative team. I ask that you vote for me, Nancy Taylor, for Select Board on May 16th, and I thank you for your vote.
My name is Camille Romano, and I'm running for a seat on the Library Board of Trustees. I was raised in Greenfield and went to UMass Amherst, where I studied wildlife biology. That led me to jobs in Arizona and Nevada, where I met my future husband, Mark Kasperzik, a fellow Massachusetts native. After 4 years studying wildlife, Mark and I returned to Massachusetts, where he moved into conservation while I did a career flip and became a CPA working in Boston. One weekend, I saw an ad in the paper for a scientific research group in Woods Hole looking for an accountant with a love of nature. We took the leap and moved to the Cape in 1991, settling in East Falmouth and raising our son Kyle. I worked for 30 years at the Woods Hole Research Center, now Woodwell Climate, retiring as the CFO. Retirement didn't last long, and I am currently the finance manager at Highfield Hall and Gardens. Mark is the land manager and MES tech for the town of Falmouth. We love our home here and can't imagine living anywhere else. We encourage nature and native vegetation wherever we can. For 5 years, we owned a cranberry bog along the Coonamessett River, farming it organically and selling the berries to friends. It was a great experience, but as our son Kyle got older and involved in sports and music, we found our free time getting scarce, so we sold the bog to the 300 Committee. From my parents, I inherited the need to stay active and get involved in the community. My mom raised 4 girls and my dad was a CPA. He was a member of the local Lions Club providing annual eye exams to school kids. He sat on the board of the county hospital, and he helped out our elderly neighbors doing yard work, shoveling snow, giving rides, and running errands. I learned by example. I was treasurer of the Friends of the Falmouth Public Library for several years. I was with the Friends when we started providing rental books and DVDs, and I accounted for the sale of the movable book cart, the precursor of the Book Nook. I used to bring my young son with me while I went to do my Friends' work, getting the bills to pay for the items on the library wish list budget. I was a member of the Coonamessett River Park Coalition. Attending town meeting to speak in favor of river restoration led me to become a town meeting member for several years, which I hope to do again. More recently, I completed a 12-year term as treasurer of the Falmouth Education Foundation. FEF is an amazing group. The teacher grants given annually are well publicized, but equally important were the smaller Teacher Opportunity Fund Awards that help meet those needs that can't always be anticipated. I've always had a soft spot for any library. As a kid, I was the book nerd in the family. I went every 2 weeks like clockwork to get my limit of books. At UMass, my favorite place to study was the library. I pulled a couple of all-nighters there. You could hole up in a closet-sized room and stay after closing because at 26 floors, there were too many rooms for the staff to check out. As I moved to new towns, I would scope out the library. The main library and the branches here in Falmouth help make this town attractive, and the CLAM system brings the resources together. When the main renovation project started, I'd order books and head over to Carlson Lane to pick them up. During COVID, we'd reserve online and meet the librarian outside the doors, masked and standing 6 feet apart. I've been a member of a book group for years and have saved a ton by borrowing books. I've looked up issues of Consumer Reports, read magazines and newspapers, and just sat in comfy chairs when I get the chance. And many an evening has been spent at a meeting or presentation in the Herman Room. Our library system is one of the most important public resources in Falmouth. The job of the trustees involves supporting the library and its staff, helping to develop policies, advise on budget preparation, oversee the library's physical needs, and be an advocate in all that is done. I'm excited about the opportunity to be on this board and offer my skills to work with the library director and staff and help meet the needs of the community at large. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jane Ziegenfuss-Martin, and I'm a candidate in the May 16th election to become a trustee of the Falmouth Public Library. I'd like to thank FCTV for providing this opportunity to talk with you as a public service. My love affair with libraries and how they expand one's mind began as a young child, living in a very rural area of the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. One day during the beginning of summer vacation, a miracle happened. A bookmobile stopped on my street and I was able to take out a few library books. I was about 6 years old and already an avid reader. After my first experience with those wonderful books, the librarian realized that she had a voracious reader on her hands, and from then on, a milk crate full of books would be selected for me every 2 weeks. None were returned unread. From that summer on, I have always had a library card no matter where I lived, and it has always been well used. Public libraries are the conduit to exploring the world, expanding one's mind, and facilitating lifelong learning. I've lived in Falmouth for 22 years. One of the first things I did when arriving was to get a library card from the Falmouth Library main branch. I am a frequent and consistent user of the library, both online with clams and in person almost every day. Having this relationship is what has driven me to run for office to become a trustee of the library, so that I can in some way give back to all those libraries that have shaped my life so far. I am also a lifetime friend of the Falmouth Library. I have both my undergraduate degree in nursing and my master's degree in nurse midwifery from the University of Pennsylvania. I practiced midwifery in home birth, birthing center, and hospital settings for 34 years. I have great attention to detail, which helped me in my role as a board member of the Woodrise Condominium in Falmouth, facilitating to oversee the extensive building envelope repair project in 2018, and serving as board secretary for 5 years. As I began exploring running for the library trustee position earlier this year, I did my research to learn the role of the trustees and how the 7-member board functions. Along with reading the bylaws of the Board of Trustees and the Code of Ethics, I reviewed the minutes and agendas from the past few years and have attended a few meetings as a guest, seeing firsthand how the board works. It was impressive to learn just how much the board is responsible for and how much they as a group accomplish. I am eager and interested to join the board and direct my energy to helping to achieve the priorities as outlined in the 5-year Falmouth Public Library Strategic Plan, which was initiated in July 2022 following a dialogue with the community. I fully support the mission statement of the Falmouth Public Library that the library engages and empowers the community through its programs, services, and its collections that inform, educate, and entertain. Those programs and services include physical books and audiovisual materials, along with online access via CLAMS, in-person and online programs such as children's, adult, and author programs, book clubs, and many more, too numerous to mention. A review of the library website calendar will demonstrate how the library brings the world to Falmouth. The brick and mortar buildings of all 3 libraries, the main library, East Falmouth branch, and the North Falmouth branch, remain essential to Falmouth, even as online use expands. Challenges in maintaining and upgrading the buildings have been identified by the current Board of Trustees. If elected, I look forward to working with the board towards the completion of the planned projects. Thank you for your time in listening to my candidate statement for the Falmouth Library Board of Trustees. I would appreciate your support on May 16th.
Dear fellow residents of Falmouth, I am Jim Fox, and I'm running for re-election to the Falmouth Planning Board. I believe this position offers me the best opportunity to use my talents to have a positive impact on as our town grows. I am a longtime volunteer in Falmouth. I have served on the Planning Board, the Beach Committee, and as a town meeting member in both Precinct 4 and Precinct 2. My roots in Falmouth run deep, having lived here my entire adult life and raising my three children here. I presently own and operate Main Street Gallery and Real Estate, 189 Main Street, and this has given me an opportunity to meet and talk to a lot of people about our town. As we all know, our biggest problem we face in Falmouth is housing, which is intertwined with wastewater and drinking water planning. Growing up in Green Pond, I witnessed firsthand the destruction by nitrogen in the 1980s. The town has since done a good job of balancing the needs of housing, business, and water, and I am proud to be part of this effort. A few years ago, while working with the Planning Board, I had the opportunity to work on the local comprehensive plan, a multi-year project which we looked into the infrastructure of the town, including where our water comes from, mainly up in the north and east of Falmouth, and where the well areas are that need to be protected. We also realized that as a town, we needed someplace to grow, but where that growth should be. Our plan was to save as much land as possible, avoid urban sprawl, and look at redevelopment where we already had the infrastructure, such as around Route 28, where there are existing planned sewers as well as public transportation. We conducted a major housing study. We identified the low-hanging fruit for housing, which included the accessory apartment bylaw, multifamily zoning bylaw, and the condominium conversion. One of my major accomplishments in the Planning Board was the accessory apartment bylaw. Falmouth was one of the first towns on the Cape to do it, and it was carefully planned. We took our time, we studied it, made presentations all around town to many boards and community and organizations. And when the time is right, we brought it to town meeting, and despite opposition, it passed on a 2/3 voice vote. I was involved in the rezoning of the landfill from public use to a light industrial C, which allowed for the construction of a solar plant that now produces over $600,000 a year in net income to the town. While working with the EDIC, I was also part of a team that negotiated a 100-year lease with the Department of Transportation for Falmouth Station. It also included a $1.3 million grant enabling us to renovate the building. One of my proudest accomplishments was working on the redevelopment of CVS, where we required them to, instead of designing or building a giant red brick behemoth building, they built a Cape Cod style architectural property that I think our town can be proud of, and they've also copied it again, did the same thing in East Falmouth. Looking forward, I'm excited about completing the task of updating the condominium conversion bylaw, which should provide an additional source of housing without using public funds. There are also several projects underway that are taking advantage of our new multifamily housing bylaw. Falmouth is well on its way to creating new housing, enabling our residents to age in place, stay in Falmouth while providing modest homes and workforce for our children. Thank you for your attention, and I ask you to vote in the upcoming election. Together we can make a difference, and make Falmouth a great place to live, work, and raise a family.
My name is Terri Alves-Hunter, and I am running for the school committee. I am running because I believe in order to have trust, you have to have transparency. You do not have to like someone to work with them as long as you're getting the end result. Ask anybody who's had a divorce and they can tell you that. I'm a special education advocate, and I sit on several committees with child welfare. I am a parent of a child in this district. It's time we give power back to the people. Your taxes are being paid for this administration. Are you tired of paying without having power? Education leaders need to provide clear and concise rationale to stakeholders for all decisions, including an explanation of how stakeholders' feedback impacted decision making. School committee is like a board of directors. The superintendent is the CEO, and you, the parents, are the stakeholders. Are you getting notifications on your monthly statements of your input? By law, we have a zero bullying policy in this district. That's not just for students. That is for everyone employed by the district. I'm tired of hearing of parents that are in fear of reporting instances because of retaliation, or teachers living in fear, teaching in fear, and not being included in any decision making. That has to change. Do you allow your family to eat foods with GMOs? Then why would you allow your child to be taught on a screen with artificial intelligence? We can't be beloved if we don't belong. Diversity just doesn't apply to race. It applies to financial status, zip code. Yes, I said zip code, depending on what part of Falmouth you live in. Ability and gender identification. We must stop giving power to labels and give power to love. The land acknowledgement we see addressed is nice, but words mean nothing without the action behind them. Unless you are a Native American, you are an immigrant. I am an immigrant. We may have come here on different ships, but it's time we were in the same boat. I want you to get educated about the ESSER funds and the $5 million that our children are going to have to pay back as adults. 20% of those funds were for lost learning. Did your child receive that lost learning benefit? I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not afraid to eat alone. I vote for your input. I advocate for families, and I understand the legal requirements of the school committee in being the ones to hire and the ones to fire. Just look at the select board and their removal of the town manager. Thank you very much for your time. And if you believe in what I do, I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
My name is Susan Kinchla-Augusta, and I'm a candidate for a 3-year term on the Falmouth School Committee. Although I am not an incumbent in this race, I previously spent 26 years as an elected member of the Falmouth School Committee. During that time, I was elected by my peers as chairman for 7 years. I also served as vice chair and secretary several times. I have served on the contract negotiating subcommittee, the budget subcommittee, as well as the policy subcommittee. I was also a long-standing member of the School Building Needs Committee. During my tenure on the committee, I worked with 7 superintendents. I am the mother of 3 children who all attended Falmouth Public Schools. I am now the grandmother of 4, one of whom is a student at the Morse Pond School. My daughter, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter, a college student majoring in education, are educators, and I have continued my drive to be knowledgeable about educational issues. Even though I have been away from the school committee for 6 years, I have kept a finger on the pulse of the current educational system, its issues and challenges. I have been an elected town meeting representative since 1980 and served on the Falmouth Volunteers in Public Schools Board of Advisors from 2016 to 2020. I was fortunate in that I was able to raise my family in Falmouth and be involved in some very exciting activities during their youth. I was a co-founder of Falmouth Youth Football in 1993 and served as secretary from 1993 to 1998. I also served as a member of the board of directors of Falmouth Youth Lacrosse and the Walkway Nursery School. In 2003, I was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. With my experience on the committee, I understand the role of school committee members. As stated in the Massachusetts Association of School Committees' Roles and Responsibilities, a school committee must be responsive to its constituencies in governance, sensitive to the diverse needs of all learners, an advocate for students and learning before the people of the community, and as such, a vigorous ambassador for public education before all citizens. I am a firm believer that public education should be for all students. In this day and age, we need to be sure that we are providing for the academic and social-emotional needs of our students. At the same time, I want to make sure that our students and staff feel safe and secure in our school buildings. I have been attending the safety committee meetings for this school year as an invited community member by the superintendent. With the help of Falmouth Police, Falmouth Fire Department, and the staff of Falmouth Public Schools, I believe the school administration is moving in the right direction to help ensure the safety of our schools and staff. I do have concerns, however, about Falmouth's ability to hire teachers and staff in the future. Due to the lack of affordable housing, it will be difficult to attract applicants, and I feel additional incentives will be necessary. This should be a town-wide initiative, as it also applies to police, fire, etc., and will require help from our elected state officials. I am committed to exhausting all ideas to ensure we can attract and retain highly qualified teachers and staff to continue the high-quality education that Falmouth offers to its children. I believe I am best suited to deal with these issues and more. I will work to be an advocate for all learners and their needs and strive for equity of access and opportunities for the students of Falmouth. I am dedicated to the town of Falmouth, and I support the mission and vision of the Falmouth Public Schools. I promise to continue my past efforts if elected to the Falmouth School Committee. I would appreciate your vote for Susan Kinchla-Augusta on May 16th. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alison Brodet, and I'm a candidate for one of 3 available seats on the Falmouth School Committee in the upcoming election. I would appreciate your vote on May 16th. My family and I moved to Falmouth over 10 years ago, and we are proud to be members of such an amazing community. Both of my children have attended Falmouth Public Schools from Mullenhall Elementary to Morse Pond, Lawrence School, and Falmouth High. We are Clippers. I am constantly impressed by the dedicated staff, administration, and school communities throughout the Falmouth School District. I appreciate the education my kids have received, as well as the teachers that have impacted their educational growth. I have volunteered in the schools with art programs, field days, yearbooks, and fundraisers. I've been in the classrooms and have seen how school committee decisions directly affect my family. As parents, we all try our best to help however we can, whenever we can. Now that my kids are older and more independent, I feel that school committee is an avenue where I can not only contribute, but also serve the community and show my kids that community involvement matters. Professionally, I'm an aquarium biologist in Woods Hole. As a member of the scientific community, I bring an unbiased approach to problem solving. I believe myself to be level-headed, honest, and fair. There will always be opposing ideas and ideals, and how we resolve these issues shows strength in community. I am consistently and constantly learning, and I am not afraid to say I don't know or I need to research this more. I am not a politician, and I am not entering this race with a particular agenda. I'm simply a parent that wants to contribute, and I know I can do an excellent job if given the opportunity as a member of the Falmouth School Committee. Finally, I want to make sure that all voices are heard, represented, and given opportunity. Our community is diverse, and I'd like to ensure it remains inclusive. Our kids need mentors, support, and a safe space to be themselves while they navigate our schools. Everyone deserves a voice in the public education system, and I hope that I can have the opportunity to sit on the committee and ensure those voices are heard. Thank you for your time, and thank you for taking time on May 16th to vote at your local precinct.
Hello, my name is Chris Lumping, and I am running for school committee because I am excited about being part of the team that works to strengthen our school community. As someone who grew up in Falmouth, went through the public school system, and now has 2 elementary school Clippers of my own, I understand that there are challenges to be addressed in our school district, and I want to be active in helping to develop policies and solutions that support our students and hard-working teachers and staff. If elected, I will advocate for policies that improve the educational experience for all students, teachers, and staff, and will prioritize community engagement and communication with the various members of our school community, including students, families, teachers, and staff. I hope to provide an avenue for all voices to be heard and to foster and support a school community that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. To that end, I will support educational policy that encourages students of all abilities and backgrounds to reach their full potential and to develop the critical thinking and real-world practical skills that will set them up for success. I feel that I am well suited for this position because I am deeply embedded in and committed to the Falmouth community. I have lived in Falmouth for most of my life, went to public school here, have worked at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution for over 20 years, have attended classes, forums, and seminars in our community, have volunteered with several local organizations, including our school PTO, and have coached various Falmouth youth sports teams. I hope to bring a reasonable voice to the committee through hearing from and listening to all sides, researching and reviewing applicable data, collaborating to seek consensus, and clearly communicating what I've heard and learned. I ask for your vote for Chris Lumping for School Committee on May 16th and promise that if elected, I will engage with and serve our school community to the best of my ability. Thank you for your consideration, and if you happen to see me around town, please feel free to stop me and say hello.
I would like to thank FCTV for the opportunity for the community to hear from the candidates. I will address 5 topics today: personal, experience, why I feel I'm a good candidate, my current initiatives, and going forward. On a personal note, I'm a graduate of Lawrence High School, the class of 1968. After that, I went to college, and when I finished college, I went and lived in Europe for a while, and I came back to Falmouth, and I looked around and said, I miss the kids, I need to get back into the field of education. So I ran for school committee. My experience, I've luckily been on the school committee for the last 15 years. I've been on almost all the major committees and subcommittees, including budget, policy, Cape Cod Collaborative, legislative, building needs, and VIPs, just to name a few. I've also worked with 4 different superintendents during this time. Why I feel I'm a good candidate. Experience makes for a deserving candidate, but not necessarily a good candidate. My enthusiasm, I think, is what makes me a good candidate. I still do my research and homework before every school committee meeting. I have an excellent attendance record, and being a retiree gives me the opportunity to be free during the daytime, and I get to go into the schools during the daytime. I've been lucky to read to elementary school students. I've listened to seniors as they do their projects for graduation, and I love it because I love to stay connected with the kids. Ultimately, the students are our clients, and it's important to stay connected with them. And I work hard to help them be guaranteed success out in the world after they've finished their years at Falmouth High School. Some current highlights of my recent term are such that I have been honored to work with 2 groups in the Falmouth community. I spent a year on a research project helping to compile historic narratives from Portuguese-speaking immigrants into our region. This report was part of the opening ceremony at the Cape Cod Cape Verdean Museum and Cultural Center. Also during this time, I was honored to collaborate with the Mashpee Wampanoag Education Department to compose our current land acknowledgement for the Falmouth Public Schools. Going forward, I highlight 2 topics that I will research to better inform my role on the school committee. The first is the presence of technology in our lives. We need to guide our students through our own policies and professional development, how to effectively use technology and hopefully not let technology use them. I also think we need to be aware of how powerful artificial intelligence has become for schoolwork, from things like there's an app that does homework for students. We have to tell them to avoid that, for example. And there may be robots or artificial intelligence in their workplace that we didn't know about. in our workplace times. The second thing I will work on is I feel we very much need to improve transparency and build confidence between our leaders in the Falmouth Public Schools, myself included, and with the Falmouth community. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Heather Goldstone, and I'm running for Falmouth School Committee. I believe deeply in the right of every child to a quality education, and I know firsthand the passion and commitment of educators. I grew up watching my mom plan lessons and grade papers well into the night and hearing the stories of her other kids over dinner. As I got older, I also got to know some of those older kids as I volunteered in her classrooms. For the past 11 years, it's been a different story as I've volunteered in my children's schools. My children all attended East Falmouth Elementary from kindergarten. One spent a year at Mullen Hall, and now they're at Morse Pond, Lawrence, and Falmouth High School. So yes, there are only 2 schools in the district that we have not attended. Along the way, I have volunteered in classrooms and field trips for science fairs, music concerts, and yes, fundraisers. I have been president of 2 PTOs, East Falmouth and Lawrence, and I've served twice on the Morse Pond School Council. I've developed relationships with parents, teachers, and administrators across the district, and I've shown that I can work with all to find and do what is best for our students. I'm excited now to take my investment in Falmouth Public Schools to the next level on the school committee. And while I am proud and grateful for all that our schools have to offer, I know that there is much work to be done. Each year, as the school year progresses, my conversations with fellow parents often turn from the tried and true, "Who did your student get?" at the beginning of the year to, "Is your child doing insert this book report or that science activity?" And more often than I'd like, the answer is no. I've seen that there is significant variation from classroom to classroom, even within a grade. And as a parent, it can be difficult to know what's common practice and what's unique to your child's teacher. I've seen this reflected, among other concerns, in the recent debates about screen time in our elementary classrooms. Educators' individual strengths, creativity, and teaching styles are a huge benefit to our students with diverse learning needs. We need to find better and more ways to support that while also ensuring equitable instruction and assessment, and all while keeping parents informed. It's a tall order, I know, but I also know it can work because I've seen it happening in our emerging Falmouth Public Schools Woods Hole partnership, in which educators' curiosity and their individual connections, paired with the immense resources of our science community, are creating exceptional learning experiences for all of our students. And that's critical, because as our students move out into the world, they face unprecedented challenges and also opportunities, ranging from AI to climate change. In addition to teaching individual skills like world languages, digital literacy, and mental and physical health, our schools also need to model innovative, inclusive, and sustainable systems and practices. Falmouth Public Schools is taking steps in these directions, including things like instituting restorative justice practices. But there is more that can and should be done. Reducing waste through recycling and composting and powering our schools with renewable energy are low-hanging fruit that could also bring economic benefits to our district. We need to constantly seek these win-win opportunities for our schools. As a member of Falmouth School Committee, I will be an advocate for transparency, equity, innovation, and sustainability, and always, above all else, our children, our future. I hope I'll have your support on May 16th running for school committee. I'm Heather Goldstone. Thank you.